So John, like the Essenes, preached a message of repent. So when Herod Antipas, the king of the Jews, had the nerve to divorce his own wife in order to marry the wife of his brother, John stood up and publicly declared,
"That violates Torah. That's adultery. Our king sins."
It didn't sit well with Herod. But he was afraid because John was well liked, even by soldiers, history records. So Herod arrested him, was afraid to hurt him, and imprisoned him. Now Josephus, the first century Jewish historian, tells John's story in an extended fashion. Josephus says, Herod imprisoned John here. We're in the country of Jordan, not far from the Dead Sea, in a fortress called, in those days, Machaerus, meaning sword in Greek. Been destroyed by the Romans before Jesus' birth, and Herod the Great, the killer of the babies of Bethlehem, rebuilt it. And it had been inherited by his son, Herod Antipas, way out in the middle of nowhere, up on top of a gigantic mountain. And you see a little bit of Herod here. And imagine in one of these rooms off to the side here, our hero, the Elijah to come, this passionate man who went to the desert to call people to righteousness, sat alone in a cell. We don't know for how long. And then he called two of his disciples. I don't know how they came here or found him. And he said, "Go find the rabbi from Nazareth, Jesus, and ask him, are you the coming one or not?" What happened? This is John,
That passionate desert man who had the fire of God in his soul like a light. What happened?
Well, if we look at it in the cultural setting, I don't think John lost faith that Jesus was the Messiah. How could he have? He saw the heaven ripped open. He heard the voice say, "This is my son." He had baptized him. He saw the dove. I think if you look culturally, what troubled John was this. In the Old Testament, the Messiah is predicted. But there's also someone who's called the coming one. In Zechariah 9, he's called your king, O Jerusalem, the coming one,
Will come.
and do some powerful things. In the book of Malachi, it says the same. Your king.
Will come.
And I think John asked, well, okay, I know you're the Messiah, but are you the coming one?
Are you that one who's going to do these powerful things?
And the reason I say that is look up John's sermons sometime.
They're all about fire and judgment and axes at the root of the tree and chaff being thrown and threshing floors being cleaned and swept. Judgment.
All things the Jewish people believed this coming one would do. And I think John's question was, I know you're the Messiah, but did I mistake who the coming one was?
Where's the fire?
In fact, it becomes very poignant when you realize John sent his disciples to Jesus to say, are you the coming one? And in Zechariah 9, immediately after the Messiah is called your king, the one who comes, it says, and he will set the prisoners free. And I think John's question was, if you're the Messiah and the coming one, why am I in Herod's jail? Nobody gets out of Herod's jail. Jesus answers in a fascinating way. He doesn't say yes. He says, go tell John, the blind see, The lame walk, the leper is cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor hear the good news. John, your end times charts are off. John, you got it right, I am the Messiah. But at my first coming, it's not about power.
It's not about fire.
It's not about judgment. It's about love for people who are experiencing chaos. It's feeding the hungry. It's sitting with the sinner. It's touching the leper. That's how the kingdom comes, John. And he quotes a whole series of phrases from Isaiah about blind and lame and lepers. And the one he leaves out? The prisoners will be set free. And I think John heard in that answer, John, my friend, I am the coming one, but you've got my method wrong. That'll be the next coming. I came to love the broken. But John, you will die in jail. And so one night, some have suggested right here in this banquet hall, the columns of which have been restored, original Capitol even, there was a party. And they brought that passionate desert preacher who wanted people to walk and live Torah into one of these rooms, maybe the one you stand in, if Josephus is right. And they cut his head off and brought it on a plate here. And other than an occasional picnicker or a busload of tourists or two, this place stands in silence. So what do? Be a John the Baptist. Everything about him pointed to Jesus. Everything he said, everything he did pointed to Jesus. And when you fail, seek his forgiveness. You're not going to see it all happen either, but go after it. You have his fire? You have the courage to speak what you believe, lovingly, gently, but convictingly, even to power? In a culture where God and his ways are increasingly irrelevant? Will you speak to the one with 2 coats and ask him to share? Will you speak to the one who has food and convince him or her to give to the hungry? Will you live that? Will you speak to the soldier and the tax collector and even the king? This place moves me deeply. Died alone at the hands of a wicked man because what he believed in was deep within him. May God raise up a generation, not only of Essenes who love the text, but Johns who live and die for that book. And may everything you do point to Jesus. For me, it's a great honor just to stand here.